Hello, everybody. So today I have two guests. Man, I'm going. This will be my third interview where I have two guests at the same time. So I'm on a winning streak right now. So today, this is going to be episode 6 for the New Earth versus the New World Order. And the reason why I have these two guys on is because I would like to get their opinions, just from a outside looking in, because they interview so many people on their YouTube channel and they have a wealth of information of what's going on nowadays with the New Earth versus the New World Order. And the other thing I would like to talk about is that they are planning a trip May 5th, if I am
May 2nd through the 5th in Grafton,
Okay.
Illinois. Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to get into that and talk about that more. So I'm pretty excited because this is good information, because it's coming from not a hypnosis practitioner or anything like that. I don't know what y'all do on the side, but for the most part, I think right now y'all just do the video collaborations. You used to do construction, correct?
I used to, yeah.
Yeah. So this would be very interesting to get an outside opinion coming in, and I'm very excited. So this would be episode 6. And if you watching this on YouTube channel, the best way to experience this video, if you're new to the channel, is to go to the playlist and just look for the playlist of New Earth versus the New World Order. And this would be episode 6. So the best way I'd like to watch it is in order, because you'll see connections between all of them. So start at episode 1 and work your way down. And if this is the podcast, all it is New Earth versus New World Order, and just look for that tagline. And for first topic we're going to talk about is your event that's coming up. Secret Space Force, correct?
Secret Space Conference, actually. It's based around the Secret Space program. That's honestly, Aaron and I both kind of, I don't know how to describe this, but we both were fascinated by the Secret Space program, I guess. When Corey Goode came out with his testimony, I think a lot of people's jaws were on the ground. There was a lot of new information. And it was one of the things that sparked the podcast. Aaron and I met at a conference, and then Aaron had the idea to do the podcast. And here we are, 2.5 years later. I can't even believe it, to be honest.
Yeah, I know, right?
And we had, we've since interviewed whistleblowers of the SSP experiencers, just all sorts of guests with great information. And we were asked to attend a few conferences, and then we quickly realized, like, holy cow, we could put one of these on ourselves. Like, this isn't that difficult. Well, it can be, but after being a part of a few conferences, you see the do's and the don'ts, right? You know what not to do, and you learn from other people, right? So
we learned a lot just from attending conferences.
Yeah.
I wish they would do this, or this is a really cool thing. Yeah, and kind of figured it out.
Perfect. And this would be my third conference that's similar to this realm. So I did 2 things at ESETI, and that was it. So this would be my third one. So I'm pretty excited.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's May 2nd through the 5th. I know it's a little ways out, but it's, gives people plenty of time to save. And it's hopefully past all this chaotic travel mandates and all that stuff. Hopefully we get past that and things settle a little bit, so it's easier for people to make it there. But yeah, it's based around the Secret Space program, but that's not just it. There's going to be some QHHT healers. There's some other people it's going to be pretty well rounded, but it's based around the Secret Space program. What we want to do is build a case for it, because there's a lot of good information out there that I think a lot of people don't really aren't aware of. And it gives people a chance to meet these people themselves and hang out with them and talk to them, because a lot of these people have wild claims, right? Some of these are very, out there. So it's nice whenever you get to meet a person and pick up on their energy and feel into them and get to know the person and see where they're coming from. And you're not just listening to them talk on the camera. So it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it.
And what are some of I'll have a link in the description of your event, but what are some of the people that's going to be attending or speaking at this event?
I can share my screen, actually, if you want to let me do that. And
that's easier.
So here it is: 4 days, 12 speakers, $444. That includes the meal plan. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner buffet, Monday through Thursday. It is during the week. It's not a weekend conference. But there's plenty of time to plan for that if you do want to make it. And it's really a great deal, to be honest. The ticket includes everything.
That is a great deal because that includes all three meals as well.
That's it. That's an all-inclusive price. Everything that's going to be available there is under that price, and there's no extra charges. Food, including food. And then there's a live stream pass for the people who can't make it for 111. And then
now for hotels, I see that you have something for hotels. So it's 119 is a recommended lodging for one of the.
Right. So there's like 70 some odd rooms on site, and that's 119 a night. It's a flat rate. And then there's a camping right next door, walking distance. I think it's like $20 a night to camp. And all those details are below. And then there's also Airbnbs and hotels like 5 miles away in town. There's plenty of options for people.
Wow. Nice. Have you been to this place once before, or? I
have. It's absolutely beautiful. As soon as I pulled onto the property, it was just like, I got chills actually. I was like, this is the place. This is the place. Aaron and I, we looked at another place and we were both like, it would work. Right. Yeah.
It would have worked, but it wouldn't have, it wasn't the feeling we were going for or the vibe we were going for.
Exactly.
And this is pretty cool. So y'all put this event on together, correct? Y'all both by yourselves together.
Yeah, there's really no one else involved. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. That is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's some friends who've helped me, give me some pointers on the website and stuff like that. But yeah, we're trying to do this on our own, and obviously, we're gonna need help along the way. But
I'm interested. I'm interested in learning how can I help.
Well, we'll talk. But anyway, Perfect. You were asking about the speakers. So every speaker we've had as a guest on the show, Tony Rodriguez, he's a whistleblower. Jackie Pierce is his co-host on his show, Talked with Tony, and she's an experiencer. And actually, one of her episodes is one of my favorites. She has an incredible story. Daryl James as well. We did a 2-part episode with him. And I mean, just the details, the recall that these people have is just mind-blowing. And it's really fascinating. And if all this stuff is true, like, we are so in the dark here on this planet. We got Suzanne Spooner, who Mark Demizio. He's had some experiences. Diego Garcia and Off Planet. Everybody knows.
Okay, sorry about that. For the people that are listening and watching this, so Suzanne Spooner, just keep that in mind. She was on episode 1. So if you remember her video from episode 1, she in that video, I talked about how she had a client, and you could point out which one it was, that the client that had past life regression he had the recall memory of this secret space program.
Right. That's this guy right next to her here in the middle of the
screen. Okay, that's Mark
Demizio. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Right. So they're going to actually be doing something together. They're going to be presenting together. It's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Laura Eisenhower, we all know who she is. She's actually become a good friend of ours over time.
Perfect.
Dan Cooper is another guy we've recently been talking with. We did 3 episodes with him. He's got a lot of great information. Rebecca Rose, we've had her on. She's got a lot of great information. Jermaine Chavez, if you aren't aware of him, he's just like how would you describe him, Aaron? An unfiltered truther.
Unfiltered truther, light warrior.
Right. Explicit.
Yeah, it can be very explicit.
Right.
So you can handle that.
But the reason he's on there is because he might be one of the most passionate people I know on the subject.
He does a lot of good work just in general, though, like tying in information and kind of presenting it like on social media. And then he does his own, he'll just go live all the time on social media and YouTube and just kind of like he does these really long tour, like sometimes even 3-hour lives.
Is he experienced something, or he's like a researcher?
He's basically like a researcher.
More of a researcher,
but
he's just really passionate and really good at researching and tying things together.
Right, and he dropped out of school early, but then he ended up teaching himself like physics and math and all kinds of stuff. And he's smarter than he gives himself credit for, and he connects a lot of dots, and he's just laid back and as real as it gets, and it's entertaining watching him because
He goes on rants, which are
yeah,
amazing and entertaining at the same time.
Nice.
but he's been following the topic since what 2012, and he probably knows it better than anybody. So
Actually, I think even longer than that. He's been
Yeah,
he's been
right.
in it for longer than us. Yeah.
So we're gonna give him a chance to get up there and just give his 2 cents. And then Kate Buckley, otherwise known as the Kate Awakening. She's a good friend. We've had her on. She's a hypnotherapist, also QHHT.
I heard.
And she has a very unique approach on hypnosis, and she's very good at like pointing out the dangers in it, because you can ask leading questions, and some practitioners, if you don't have experience, you might be drawing information out of somebody that might not be accurate, and it's a very real thing. So she's going to come and basically lay it out, like the importance and the do's and don'ts if you are going to go into a session, what you need to know, what you need to look for, that type of stuff. Because I mean, I see that being a trend. People are going to be seeking out these practitioners more and more as people are remembering stuff and having recall. And she does other great work as well. I'm sure it's going to be a well-rounded
Does she
presentation.
still have her YouTube channel?
It got taken down, but she's been on a little bit of a hiatus, but she'll be coming back doing her. She has plans on coming back and getting back into everything. But I can't blame her. Sometimes it's nice to take a break.
Yes. After this, I'll take a little bit of a break myself. A lot of deadlines coming up.
And then Johann Fritz and his wife, Jody Reynosa, they both have experiences together, memories of being on the same missions together. Their story is absolutely incredible. Johann's alone is just mind blowing, and he has probably more information stored in his head than anybody. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're really looking forward to it. It's a great lineup, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we have Lala Deaton, if you guys know who she is. She's an amazing musician. She's going to be playing music. And Ivan Teller, he's an ET channeler, and he'll be there doing some private sessions. And yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And these are your vendors, correct?
And these are just vendors. Hopewell Farm, Space Force News, Alara, and Loyal to the Foil. They'll be there with their booth. And then Christina Lee Dobbs, if anybody knows who she is, she has Organite. She'll be there selling some Organite. And then we got Divine Sovereign Beings down here, Jason, Alexis. If you guys know who they are, Jason from Cosmic Origins, Alexis from Ascension Diaries. They'll have their booth. They're going to be selling some local stuff from Sedona. And then Omnia. Well, maybe if we're lucky, we might get Tim to come over from London. But he'll be there selling the patches. Hopewell Farm CBD. Eric will be there, and the rest of them are local vendors. So
perfect.
Right. So I think that's about it. And then all the information's on the website for anybody who wants it. The one interesting thing is that we've already been getting some shit about this conference. People say that we're only putting it on for money and this and that, and we're pretty sure somebody reported this shirt on Teespring, and Teespring removed this shirt now. So,
oh no.
So we got to re-upload the shirt, but it's to be expected,
What did they say? It was infringing on someone's copyrights or something?
Well, Teespring has an option where you can report an item. You don't have to have a reason. You can just report it, and enough people report it, I guess it can get removed. So
they just automatically remove stuff if it gets reported a certain amount of times, or
I don't know.
That shirt isn't violating anything.
No, not at all. But I can just see somebody getting mad because we've had a particular individual accusing us of just putting this conference on purely to make money.
Yeah,
which is literally the exact opposite. It's the farthest thing from our mind.
Absolutely has nothing to do with.
Well, as a person that's going to attend, and I attend other events. Shoot, I've attended online events that cost $2,000, $1,000 for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You're charging $444, and this includes meals and so on, and you get to have it's 4 days.
Right.
I mean, it's I mean, that's a damn good price.
I mean, it's going to be, travel and stay, that comes with every conference we've learned, and if you can keep the ticket price, the most important thing was including the food, because I've paid this much for a ticket and had to pay another $300 for a food package,
Yes.
So
Let's put it this way: of all the conferences I've been to, this is on the very low end for what I normally pay for a conference. Like
Correct.
the very, very low end.
Correct.
So it's not not price gouging, or we're not doing this for money. Like conferences aren't cheap to put on, especially if you do it.
No, and then you got depending on how y'all work it out, you got to take care of the speakers as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We're trying. I mean, dude, at this point, we're just trying to break even. Like, and whatever happens after that is a bonus. But this is a passion project. This is something like we are grateful and fortunate enough to be in a position to even be able to pull something like this off. So
absolutely. Is this your first one?
Yeah, absolutely. It's our first. Right. It's our first attempt. So,
well, leave a comment down below in the comment section. Let me know if you like what you saw and if you're interested, if you're going. If not, if you don't want to leave a comment, you can always send me that email as well. But I do have a couple of questions. So let's say you bring your loved one. Is there things to do for, like, if your loved one is not going to the event, is there things for them to do on the side?
Absolutely. So in town, so the Grafton is actually like a tourist town. It's right on the river. It's beautiful. And it's 5 miles away. So if somebody didn't want to hang out at the event, they can go spend all day in town. There's a bunch of stuff to do. There's trails to hike at the conference. There's stuff to do on site that doesn't even pertain to the conference. So there's plenty to do.
Perfect. And is it far from the airport or anything like that?
It's an hour away. It's actually 42 miles from St. Louis Airport, but it's about an hour drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in the St. Louis metro area on the Illinois side.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So if you ever attended the East City Ranch event with us, same thing. You go to the airport, rent a car, and
but it's closer than East City is to the Portland airport.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, 42 miles isn't that far, to be honest, from a major airport. So it gives people an opportunity, and it's in the Midwest. So I've already had a lot of people that would typically fly say they're going to drive because it's centrally located. It's not on one end of the country. So
yeah, there's not a lot of these types of conferences in the Midwest. So I really like that we're doing it there, because everyone that lives in the Midwest, normally, like Todd and I are both from St. Louis. Normally we're having to fly to the East or West Coast, super far to go to a conference. And this time, everyone that lives within driving distance can actually drive, and makes it cheaper and easier.
Perfect.
So.
Yep, exactly.
I checked out the pictures of the place, and it looks like a beautiful place. So I am very forward to check it out.
Yeah, let me tell you, man, it's literally gorgeous. Like, it's unbelievable. And the owner, the lady I've been dealing with, like, I know it's meant to be, because she is awesome. And every single request I've had, her answer is like, do what you want. It's your conference. Like, that's fine. I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting. I was waiting for her to like come back and say, oh, you can't do that, or this is going to cost extra. She's like, no, yeah, fine. You want that? No, we can do whatever you want. But it's amazing.
Wow.
Like, I just couldn't believe it. There was no pushback.
Good. That's good. And with that being said, you can do this event again, and you know what to expect, and know that you can work with her again.
Right. One at a time, though.
Of course. So the other question would be, for the videos that I'm putting together, where it's the New Earth versus the New World Order, and then you think any information that would be presented at the conference will be relatable to this subject as well? What's your thoughts on that?
I can only imagine. So, I mean, I can only imagine, because that's, we're not just doing this to put the information out there. We're doing this to like basically manifest our positive timeline. We want to put ourselves on the timeline where there is this new Earth future. So I'm sure that's going to be discussed. There's no way it wouldn't be.
Gotcha. Then there you go. And that's why we're having this video collaboration as we speak today.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you for having us on, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
So
you.
much.
No, the honor is all mine. So, and check out their YouTube channel. They have amazing guests. I mean, I was pretty wild by the guests that y'all have on your channel, you know.
Well, thank
So I
you.
was like, wow, that's pretty good.
We are too sometimes. We're like,
We are too. Yeah.
I look back at our history sometimes. I'll scroll through it and I'm like, I can't even believe that we accomplished it. Like it's surreal sometimes. I'm like, holy shit.
And y'all been doing this for 2 years, the podcast?
Almost 3 years at this
Right.
point.
February will be 3 years, I think.
Beginning of 2019 is when we started. So yeah, coming up on 3 years.
It's
Wow.
been
Well, congratulations. I mean, I was impressed when I saw it. I was like, man, y'all get some good names on your channel.
Thank you. Yeah, like Tyler said, I don't even know how we just started it, just to do it, and it just kind of happened. We got lucky and blessed, and then that's the way I can put it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's just been so amazing and so fun to do over the last few years, and our lives have changed from it completely. And
immensely, yeah. Well,
yeah.
it's kind of like we started it with zero really intentions or anything. We just started it.
Well, our intention was just to
Be a part.
all this information and like, stuff we wanted to talk about and get out there to the world in some way, but we didn't really know how to do it or what to do. And then I had the idea for a podcast and we just kind of clicked like, yeah, that's it. That sounds right.
Right. I meant like
jumped into it. Yeah. Without,
I guess I should say, I meant like we didn't have any expectations. Like,
no.
Like we just went in to uncharted territory. We learned everything the hard way, especially on the tech end.
Yeah.
Everything is,
slowly learned how to do everything and what to do. And
self-taught and whatever. And then it was like the universe had it was like the universe had our back, because I'm not lying. It was almost like it became effortless. It's like a well-oiled machine now. It just like somehow or another it's going. It takes a lot of work, but it's not forced. So, and sometimes we have amazing guests fall into our lap. People recommend people. Sometimes we got to hunt them down. If I really want to get somebody on, you got to really.
Right. That was one of my questions, like, are y'all reaching out to them? Are they coming to y'all?
At first it was basically all us reaching out to people. And that's just a testament to like the amazing people in this community that are like the bigger name people, because so many of them, they agreed to do it, even though we were this tiny channel that no one's ever heard of at the time.
Right.
And they agreed to do it. And then we would just through going to conferences, making friends with people was how we had
networking
on networking, just making friends. And then a lot of those people would have connections to somebody else, or be like, oh, you have to have this person on, and they would kind of help us get other people. And now it got to the point where almost just as many people are reaching out to us to ask to be on as we are reaching out to people. So it's
right. Exactly. And it's crazy.
Job easier.
Yeah, it does.
It does and it doesn't, because sometimes people reach out and you don't know who they are. So that now, like if it's interesting enough, you kind of have to do your homework and see, and then you can't just have everybody on, because you just can't. But so it's cool because it allows me, whenever somebody new shows up and they have new information, I'm like, this is awesome, because I probably would have never found them otherwise had they not reached out. So it's super. I think I love it,
Nice. Thank you very much for joining us, giving us all that wonderful information. I am very excited for the event. I'm looking forward to it. And if you want, we could begin with some questions to pick your brains, because like I said, with their YouTube channel, they post a lot of interesting information. And then I was telling Tyler and Aaron earlier, before everything got started, that sometimes the guests will say something and then next thing you know, y'all just like spit out a ton of information on top of that. So I was like, okay, these guys know quite a bit of what's going on out there. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to pick your brain with all that. And also don't forget that they post videos on Rumble as well, because of the sensitivity of it. And you got 2 good videos up there as well. And I highly recommend you checking those out. And I was pretty shocked by those two guests. I was like, man, that is very impressive.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Some of the stuff it just with YouTube's regulations now, it's not even worth risking our channel. So we just upload it on
Right.
Rumble. And
Right. Sometimes
actually,
I worry.
there's 3 of them that are on Rumble, 4 of them now. I think W.H.Y, she was a holistic
Okay.
pharmacist, right?
Yeah. And
She,
Rolla.
yeah, Ken Rolla, which is how would you describe Ken's title? A free energy entrepreneur, inventor. I don't know, but
Wow,
Mentor.
you had to take that one over there too.
well, no, that one got removed from YouTube for medical misinformation because he has a lot of.
That's how we got our
natural-
warning.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have a
he
warning on YouTube because of that.
he has a lot of natural cures and alternative cures, and they work.
And
And
he talked about the jab also.
right,
Ah,
So they
using the actual words. So I think that probably triggered the algorithm.
yeah.
Um,
And then obviously you're talking about probably Mickey Willis and Zach Voorhees. So
yes, those
Right.
two.
yeah.
The 2 new ones. I watched his
That's
video, his series,
the
and
pandemic,
yeah, I
that's
watched the
fantastic.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
I tried to tell my coworkers to watch it, but they're too busy. So I was like, all right.
The right
On your own.
people will find it.
Oh yeah. So the first question would be, I don't know which one y'all want to take. The last person I interviewed, they kind of went with the definition of the New World Order, but which one y'all wanted to describe first? The New Earth? Like, what is your definition of it? How do you see it as? Or do y'all want to take it from the New World Order approach?
That doesn't matter to me, but I'll let Aaron take that question. Aaron, start.
Maybe we can start with the New World Order, start with the darker stuff,
Right.
and then
Dark to light.
the hope.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
would be,
Dark to
that's
light.
better. Yeah.
I like that approach.
Okay. Well, for me, the easiest way I describe the New World Order as from a practitioner, from a QHHT point of view, I always see it as just basic bottom line stuff beyond, evil individuals that are in politics, business, or just politicians that have evil intentions. I just go beyond that and say the bottom line is just old programming and just negative energies. And that's the bottom line I usually go with. But I'm interested to know how you see it.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like, well, people also sometimes they get irritated or upset with us when we talk about politics on the show, but what they don't understand is we're not talking about politics. Like when we're talking about it, we're talking about the deep state, the cabal, because they're basically, they are the
Real
politicians.
system of control.
They are the
Yeah,
politicians. So
exactly.
we're not discussing politics. We're discussing like, okay, well, for one, we're showing people what's going on, and when we always try and have solutions also, like, okay, how can we manifest a positive timeline or whatever. But Aaron, I'll let you run with that question. And what?
Yeah. It's wow, it's such a big topic. It's like, man, where do I start? But yeah, I like what you said about energy, because essentially that's what it is. It's we're moving out of the old energy into the new, which is manifesting the new earth, the new energy. And it's so the old structures that have been on the planet for thousands of years, well, it's like, well, what's behind those structures? Is that just random evil people or kind of low vibrational people that happen to get in power? That, well, partly yes, but really no. It's really been a spiritual, dark, energetic force that's been behind it for thousands of years. That's kind of, so to speak, infiltrated our planet a long time ago. And there's when you get deep down the rabbit hole, there's actual negative ET beings that you'll hear people talk about, the reptilians or the Draco. They're a part of that, and they're kind of, or they were controlling the earth-based, the human-based people in power for thousands of years. And it goes all the way back. I mean, this goes back to Babylon, back to Rome and ancient Egypt and Sumeria, and it goes back to the most ancient times that we know of, you know, even back to, you know, Atlantis and Lemuria times, really. But
okay.
you know, the mainstream doesn't want to accept that as real. So it's like, all right, well, it's you can like documentedly, you know, look at it. It goes back to Egypt and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it's all these people in power that they're basically psychopaths. They're basically there's dark entities kind of like ruling through them, and
They're puppets.
they're bloodlines, and that's why they keep their bloodline pure, because, you know, they believe they're like superior to the rest of the human race. They believe they're basically gods that have the right to rule over us, and we're just these worthless cattle essentially that they can do as they wish. And yeah, so that's their mindset. They're basically a cult as well, so they actually have their own strict religious beliefs, and that is what most people would think of as like satanic, essentially, when you look into this. Like, they're basically a satanic cult, or some would say a Luciferian cult, where they worship the darkness. They worship you know, everything opposed to what we would think of as good.
Anti-life.
Anti-life, exactly.
Yeah.
To put it simply, they're anti-life. And they've infiltrated every area, every government, you know, they're at the top of every institution in society, and they have been for a long time, unfortunately. And that's
the whole time.
That's why they've made such an effort to kill off like the different native populations of the planet, because those people had this ancient wisdom that and they were, you know, living in tune with nature and with the planet, and like keeping it at a higher vibration. So they had to, you know, they had to get rid of that. And you can just see their agendas play out through the ages. And you know, it's been going on for a really, really long time. And they create the wars, they manipulate the whole planet and societies to war and enslave the planet, basically, and feed off of our energy, the low vibrational energy that they manipulate us to continually, perpetually keep creating for them. And yeah, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But, you know, now we're at times where that's all going away. You know, more and more people are waking up. The planet and the solar system are moving into a higher vibrational part of the galaxy, and the energy of that alone is raising consciousness and kind of being a catalyst for this awakening. And us starseeds, I believe all three of us are, and most of the people who are watching probably are, we came to this planet to help with this shift, with this awakening, to usher in the new earth and the new age. So we're right at the precipice of this old new world order that, you know, their goals for a long time have been to create a one world government, to enslave the planet more than it already is, and you know, kill off most of it, so we're easier to control. And you see all their agendas, like, they push towards that. You know, when you look into it, they all are clearly trying to push to create that, but they're failing, and it's very obvious that they're failing, because they wanted this years and years ago, and they're kind of now really in desperation, because they're seeing that if they don't make this happen now, they're done. So they're kind of throwing out everything they possibly can, everything but the kitchen sink, you know.
Yeah, they're pulling out all the stops right now.
Yeah, they're making a last ditch effort in desperation to manifest this, but it's not going to work, because they've already lost. We're just now seeing that play out, and we're seeing the manifestation. The chaos that's ensuing is a part of it. You know, it's just the natural moving from that old structure that's crumbling to the new, beautiful, amazing reality that we're moving into. So,
wow, you almost answered all the questions. We're almost
right.
Sorry.
There's no way I could have answered that as good as he did.
Yeah, that was amazing. Amazing. So
thank
while
you.
you were speaking, you brought up 3 good questions. So this is kind of a new question that is added to the list. So do you think with the New World Order, do you think they know what's coming, like the Earth changes, the 5D Earth? You think they know what's happening and they're trying to
Oh,
prevent it?
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's why they're acting the way they are. And that's why everything is surfacing, because like they can't even afford to hide anymore or be covert about anything. It's like okay, you want to like, let's put on a Travis Scott concert and
Oh yeah.
and have a public sacrificial ritual, satanic ritual, and kill 8 people and fuck everybody, and we'll get away with it. I mean, that's exactly what they just did.
It was an energy harvesting event
right.
basically, and there was a lot there. The symbolism was just off the charts in that thing, demonic symbolism.
I heard my coworker was telling me something about it, and he showed me different pictures. I was like, oh, okay. I thought it was just a regular concert and someone got hurt. That's what I thought. And
No, this
they
is
showed me all
beyond
this stuff, and I was like, oh, okay. So there's a little bit more to this.
there's a lot to it. There's a satanic ritual, every way you look at it, down to the poster, the flower on the poster that says "See you on the other side." It's some rare flower, but when you read a description of the flower on Google, whenever it's
like corpse something.
I forgot what it's called, but
something it had corpse in the name of the flower.
And the description says that it smells like rotting flesh.
Yeah, exactly.
Rotting flesh. So here we have that flower on the poster, says "See you on the other side."
The shirt he was wearing showed literally demons coming through a portal.
Right.
On his shirt he was wearing.
Right. And then the whole stage was a portal, and then it was the big eye of like Moloch or whatever. And
wow.
But it goes on and on. But also they say that a lot more they're claiming that more people died than actually 8, but 8 is the number we're going to get from the mainstream, because for some reason it was important in their sacrifice and their
every
ritual.
time they use a number, they're using
and there was 8 flames on the stage and blah blah blah. So either way, we can go into detail on this, but
wow,
the whole thing is this is a perfect example of them doing this stuff overtly.
Yeah.
They don't care anymore. It's not like they're not doing this stuff underground in some secret society anymore. They're doing it on the world stage. And I mean, Travis Scott watched the people die, and he kept going. And he's off scot-free. I mean, he's not going to get charged. They're trying to, but it's not going to happen because it was all planned. It's not like it's just like, okay, well, we'll entertain them by saying we're going to.
Right, and if he does get charged, or if he does, he'll fall out.
Right.
Some elbows be rubbed or something.
But then you have the video clips I watched of it was like this horrible, horrible frequency that actually makes you sick. I'm like, this is not music. I'm like, they are hypnotizing people, and that frequency was literally one of the videos made my heart start pounding. I'm not joking. And
wow.
And people say that people were falling out of cardiac arrest. Well, then we also have this graphene oxide that's allegedly in a jab, and everybody was required to be jabbed to go to that concert. So if you're pumping a frequency out that works, that affects whatever's in that jab, right, it could affect something in your body, much like we were speculating about the 5G towers putting out a frequency that would just make people drop dead. Well, this could be very similar to something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know we got off topic.
Everything points to that as well from my research.
Right.
Yeah, I think they pumped out a frequency that interacted probably with what's in the jab that caused all these people to have cardiac arrest or whatever. And then what Trav didn't he like tell people to rush the stage or something? He like encouraged.
Yeah, dude, it was so multi-layered.
Trampled, and that's how a bunch of people died.
Yeah, people were trampled. So yeah, at the end of the at the end of the concert, they were showing helicopter footage, and I swear there was a bunch of black what looked like body bags, and they were trying to write them off as trash bags. But at that point, it had already been deemed a crime scene, so they couldn't even clean up the concert because it's somewhere along the line. They're like, this is a crime scene. We have to shut this down and bring the officials in. But it's terrible. Anyway, sorry, we got off topic there, but that's just a perfect example of what they're doing right now overtly, because They have to. They don't have a choice to. They're trying to get as much
And
energy
this
from
is
us that they can.
and this is weeks after that Alec Baldwin accident, which was not
No, that was
clearly not an accident to me.
Well,
Yeah,
that-
'cause,
That was another one.
that is one of the questions, like what are some of the things they're trying to do, to stop the progression of it,
well, that apparently the lady that was shot was the wife of one of the Clintons' lawyers.
Mhm.
So maybe she had information on the Clintons that, or maybe they had like caught wind that she was going to blow the whistle or try something, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even worth it. So, and there's everything's astrologically aligned. All these public murders like that usually happen in key locations that would spill blood into the ley lines. That nothing's by accident. So I'm sure with the
out there
location,
in the
the
universe.
location, the people involved, the day, the time, everything was probably no accident at all.
Yeah. And I remember the Vegas shooting years ago.
Yeah.
Remember that Vegas? That was like the same thing. It was like a mass ritual down to the location, like you said, the dates. Yeah, it was like this was just like another one of those basically. And a whole bunch of people died. Terror, like the energy of all that. It's like these things are planned. They plan these things.
If I just watched this movie called Under Silver Lake. Somebody recommended it to me. I think it's Under Silver Lake, something like that. But it's a weird, trippy movie, but it lays out what their agenda down to details that you probably don't want to know. But it's mind blowing. It talks about how everything is in code. Every movie, every song, every billboard, everything is like code for the elites, for some like Illuminati thing or whatever. And this guy ends up figuring out that there's this band, this really popular band called Jesus and the Brides of Dracula. And they had music. They were like the most popular band at the time. And there was codes in the music. Well, it turns out that the artist didn't even write the 3 songs that had the codes in them. They were handed to him by the producer, said, put these songs out. And they were his only 3 songs that actually made it public and made it big and got on the charts. There were songs that he didn't even write. Somebody else wrote them and they were pushed by the producers or whatever because they had a subliminal message in it. The message ended up leading this guy to an underground bunker beneath the hills of Hollywood, which ended up he thought was a bomb shelter, ended up being what the elites call, or say the Satanists call, an ascension chamber, where they think that they're going to ascend and like their own version of ascension. And they would put these people in the ascension chamber and pour concrete around it and they would have to live out their life in this ascension chamber. And it's the craziest thing, but it's like
burying them alive, essentially.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, there's so much disclosure in this movie. Like all the popular songs that are fed to the public, like all the popular songs that we know by all these artists, like their most famous songs weren't even written by them. It was written by like somebody else and given to them and said, you put this song out or we take away your label.
Oh, right. I know that happens all the time.
Yeah. But the movie is incredibly, it's just littered with disclosure.
What's it called again?
Under Silver Lake.
Under Silver Lake.
It came out in 2018.
It's trippy and it's hard to watch at some parts, but man, stick through to the end. It's like you don't know what's happening.
What's it on?
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Definitely check that out.
I mean, the guy, he starts questioning things. He's like, why is this blocked out on Google Earth? Like, and so he went to the site and he found, it's just crazy. It's really cool.
And it's Under the Silver Lake. It's a 2018 film.
Yeah, Under the Silver Lake. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Interesting.
Anyway,
some of the information.
Yeah, no, it's a great example. If anybody wants to know how they operate, that's it. That movie tells all.
So yeah, everything we just talked about is kind of like perfect examples of the cabal or the deep state in plain sight. The things they do these things in plain sight, especially nowadays because they're so desperate. And it's like they can't afford to be subtle anymore. So that like right now we're seeing it, every other day. It seems like there's some new thing they're doing.
Right.
And Yeah, that's a really good sign in my opinion. You know, with, you know, everyone's freaking out about the jab and the mandates and blah blah
Oh
blah blah,
yeah,
blah, you know,
a lot of
everything.
people
Yeah,
waking up.
it's all exactly, it's all terrible. Yeah, I agree. But to me, that's a really good sign we're seeing that, because that means they're on their last legs. They wouldn't be doing things, they wouldn't be going this hard and this desperate if they weren't, you know, on their last legs. Like they wouldn't be, we wouldn't be seeing it. You wouldn't be seeing all these people waking up.
Well, and I
You
do
wouldn't be seeing this.
I do want to add to that, Aaron, because a lot of people don't understand it. They can't wrap their head around the fact that why are so many people dying? If this is a good thing, why are people losing their lives? Why are people getting sick?
Yeah,
Well,
that is one of the questions. Yeah.
here's the way I see it. So let's just pretend there was three options, like which I've heard this when I was listening to a channeler on YouTube, I think. Maybe it was Ivan Teller, I don't know. But it was information that came through that got me thinking. He said there was three options that were to be decided upon, basically. It was the solar event, a major asteroid impact, or the virus. All three of them would have been a catalyst for an awakening. And apparently they, after review, they decided that all of them were going to have mass casualty, but the virus was going to have the least amount of casualties. No matter how you look at this transition, there's going to be mass casualties, but we get the least casualties with this. So if, and I don't know if that's true, but
yes, in a way, in episode 3, I interviewed Sarah, and we talked multiple times, and she has even confirmed that we're on the easiest timeline out of the timelines. Like, this is the easiest one. And when she said that, I was like, wait a minute, this is the easiest one?
Right.
Like, I hate to see the other ones, you know? And this was when everything was happening, you know, everything was getting shut down, you know, everybody was in fear and you had to wear your mask and so on. So it's like, and she's like, yeah. And she's talked about it. And she says, yeah, we're actually doing pretty good with everything. They're actually pretty impressed with us. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, to confirm, you know, that is true, because she's gotten it in her sessions multiple times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I definitely think that's the case. I mean, it's not.
And I've heard a lot of the people who are dying on a soul level, they agreed to that, to be a part of the awakening and to help with it. And then they can also help once they get to the other side. You got to remember, like, beings, just because when they die doesn't mean they can't help anymore. Like, they can help from the other side as well.
If not,
Dolores
more
Cannon.
powerful.
If not more so, exactly.
Right. Well,
yeah, Dolores Cannon talks about that. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, think about an elderly person when they're at their last days. When they're in their last days, they're not of service to anyone. They're not of service to themselves, to their family. They're just kind of going through the motions. There's no way that soul is going to be able to affect anything at this point here on Earth. So
yeah,
when one of our elderly passes, you can bet that not I can't say this for everybody, but they're going to go and they're going to be able to help their family and this ascension in ways that they could never even have dreamt of being here on Earth. Their mission was done. You know, it's time to go. And then even the people that are dying young, you know, maybe on some level, this was everything is happening exactly how it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Multiple sessions, it has been said that everything has a plan. There's nothing that was not planned.
Right.
So it reminds me of Dolores Cannon. She's even admitted, saying that, you know, my time is coming to an end. I feel like I can do so much more work on the other side, and I can be of better service on the other side.
Right.
Before she left.
Exactly.
I believe that.
So you mentioned Atlantis and Lemuria. A lot of this stuff, you think a lot of this stuff happened before then or after?
During.
That's a good question. I've heard different people say both. You know, people say, oh, the evil infiltrated in Atlantis. And that's where it started. And I've heard people say, oh, it came like 500 million years ago, or however many millions of years ago, way before even those times. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. All I know is that it's been here for a really long time, and I would say at least it's been here as long as Atlantis and Lemuria.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like Atlantis was this because it seems like there were two different societies. So there was Lemuria and then there was Atlantis, and they kind of, there's different information of that as well as, oh, did they crop up at the same time, or was, you know, a lot of people say Lemuria was here first and then Atlantis came along later. Again, I don't know.
Right.
But all I know is I'm pretty sure they both existed, and Atlantis was the one that got corrupted, if it wasn't corrupted from the start. And Atlantis warred against Lemuria, and that's what caused them to sink, and that's what caused the destruction of it. And a lot of beings apparently fled underground into Hollow Earth to escape destruction and continue living on there. And so I'm not sure if some stayed on the surface or came up from Hollow Earth to the surface, and then that's, you know, the bloodlines that continued on as the cabal that we have now. But yeah, I do know, I mean, there's just so much evidence, so much that there was super advanced civilizations long before there should be anything, you know, that mainstream.
Yeah, perfect.
Obviously, you know.
Well,
and those are all remnants. I mean, the pyramids and the Sphinx, and, you know, those are remnants from that time as well, I believe. And
and then to go back and answer your question about, do you think the darkness was here at that time, or, you know, whatever you, however
I
you
do
word
think it was, yeah.
But so have you read The Ancient Secrets of the Flower of Life? Have either of you read
You
that
know what?
book?
I haven't actually read it yet.
Gonzalo Melchizedek. So it gets into all that.
Mhm.
But what's interesting about it is I just don't know about the information, because it's a little different than what we hear about some other accounts of Lemuria and Atlantis back then. But they say that Lemuria was here before Atlantis, and
A lot of people say that.
and
yeah.
it existed between Hawaii and Easter Island, basically. And if you look on the map, you can literally see a sunken island chain on a topographical map. You can see that all these islands were once islands, right? These land masses were once islands. They say this is Lemuria. They had foresight, they had technology, they knew that it was sinking. So they fled, all the Lemurians fled to Atlantis. According to this,
Right.
it didn't have anything to do with a war, which is interesting because there's a totally different.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, I've heard
multiple
scenarios, exactly, and it's hard to know what's actually true.
Right. And then, they specifically said that Atlantis, in this book, they specifically said Bermuda Triangle area, which I've heard, but then I've also heard Antarctica. I think it was kind of global, but
I've also heard, the whole globe was actually Atlantis. It wasn't just one.
Right. So and then it explains that, so they were actually like living this beautiful, like advanced, unified society, civilization. And then literally, like one day, like reptilians landed and like took over a part of the island, but it was a free will planet, and they were actually, like, by some law, weren't even allowed to, like, say they couldn't stay. It was because everything was free will. So they came and they were like cordoned off and like developing their technologies and everything on one half of this island of Atlantis, and they ended up basically destroying the island with their own technology. And then in that book, they say that all the disappearances in the Bermuda Triangles because that technology sank, but it was never turned off.
Still there.
And it was like beaming something up that was creating like a portal or whatever. And then they claimed that it was finally shut off in 2012. So it's no longer a threat, but hopefully. Who knows? And then they said that all the people from Atlantis then fled to Egypt because there was another known hub of people there, another known civilization. And then all of our pharaohs and all the elites with the long elongated skulls and they were all
from the priests.
They were all from Atlantis.
Yeah.
And the story, and then there's a whole controversy because they came with basically like this new religion, and all the locals they were worshiping like 100 gods. They had a god for everything, and then they came in trying to teach like a one source creator, and they were actually overthrown by the locals and actually murdered in one case because they didn't like that they were coming and trying to change their religion, and there was all this whole story. But that's one book, you know.
Yeah.
So all that was in one book?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That was all from the Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say I'm certain of is that whether it was the reptilians that were around, I do think they were most likely around then. There was an evil that was around then that continues to this day. That we're just now seeing for the first time since they've been to this planet, losing their power and going away, and their empire crumbling, you know. So we're living in literally, I would say, the most exciting times, definitely of this planet, and many people say of our galaxy, and some people say of the universe. Like I've heard, you know, there's just an immense number of ET races literally here to watch what's unfolding because it's never happened ever in the history of the universe right now. So,
you know, what's funny is Ivan Teller said, I loved how he put it, because so many people are like wanting off Earth right now. They hate it. They just want to go back home or whatever. And I think it wasn't him that said it. It was somebody who was channeling. He goes, you guys are crazy. He goes, you guys are basically living in Disneyland. You have no idea how exciting, like they're like, it's boring sometimes up here. Like it's like exciting on Earth. Like it's like the only place you can do any of the things you're allowed to get away with. You can't do it anywhere else. Like Earth is like extremely unique.
Right.
And and he's like, you guys are basically living in Disneyland. Like take advantage of it while you're there. You know?
Yeah, many other people talk about that. Just the fact that our planet is like one of the most beautiful planets out there because of the nature. And like Alex Collier talks about that, and he says our planet's it's an O2 planet, so an oxygen based, and he says most planets in the universe are hydrogen based, and just the nature of that makes it a much duller, less diverse, less beautiful place. So and the O2 planets are much more like that, and he says Earth is actually like Earth is apparently one of the most beautiful planets, and not just nature, but also, you know, we have the most different races and diversity and our human population here as well. And then even on a soul level, like apparently we have the most diverse, you know, from ascended masters, you know, super high level souls, ancient souls, and then to like, you know, very new, you know, and everything in between that are incarnated on the planet right now. So
and apparently a lot of ETs are impressed with us.
Yeah,
like,
we have all the inner Earth beings and ETs too. Like you have all that.
Well, what I mean is they're impressed with humans because of because we're able to survive on a poison planet.
Yeah,
they don't understand how we can live on a planet where our food, our water, our air is poisoned, and we can still essentially thrive if we want to. Like it's like, and that's why a lot of
we're like one of the most resilient races ever, and amazing in their eyes, like how we were able to survive all of that and thrive in it still.
Yeah, because like one of the conversation was like, since they're at a higher vibration, they're more sensitive and receptive to those, you know, chemicals and energies that are out there. So like for them, it'll tear them up.
Yeah,
it'll change them. Whereas us, like we can do certain things, and it'll affect us in the long run, but for the short run, we even think nothing about it. We'll just act like nothing's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But we're transforming that anyway. Just us being here, you know, we're transforming it, and that we're able to exist in it to transform it, because like they can't, like you said, they can't come in here. It would take them out, and they can't really truly affect change like we can being incarnated here. That's why we had to incarnate. So like what I've heard is only like the strongest souls incarnated here. So all of us, we were the strongest souls, and And then the human genetics, like we talked about, are, you know, we have 22 different race genetics in us from different races, doing that over many thousands of years. And
We're like
it's
one
kind of
big
like
happy gumbo.
well, it's what happened was they all put the best of their own genetics into us. So we're the accumulation of the best of 22 different races genetics. So that's why.
Right. And something else to remember too is like what we're seeing right now has happened before. And it's at the end of every civilization, at the end of it, before the fall of any major civilization, there's always war, chaos, all of it. It's just part of the cycle. So this war, everything we're seeing right now, is kind of natural. It's to be expected. There's no way around it. But where we went wrong in the past is that, so like Atlantis, for example, like they were super advanced, highly technological race, but that doesn't mean that they were spiritual. And
Correct.
And like that's what one thing I was reading said, that they may have very well been a very egotistical race, and they were like all in their greed and power and this and that. Even though they were advanced and they had abilities that we could only hope to have, they weren't really spiritually mature.
Their technology
outweighed the spirituality.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people, Alex Collier again, he talks about that. He's like, when a race's technology grows way faster than their spirituality is when they usually destroy themselves and or become a danger to the greater galaxy.
Aaron, I just had an epiphany because you said that. So
yeah.
So here we are, mad this whole time that we're not getting disclosure. But if we got disclosure in the 40s and 50s when they knew all this shit, we weren't spiritually ready and we would have collapsed. So
yeah,
in a way, by them suppressing everything, allowed us to become spiritually mature enough to even get to this point, almost like it was all planned that way.
And I would like to add to your theory, because you're a fan of Dolores Cannon, correct? Both of y'all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Huge. I forgot which book it was. I don't know if it's Convoluted Universe 3 or 4, but it's one of them. I don't think it's 2. But one of the interesting things that I always thought, because you mentioned the 40s and 50s, but like with JFK, so there's multiple timelines. There's a timeline where he survived. He was not assassinated. He survived. But one of the things that he was about to do was disclose ETs and so on, which everybody would think, oh yeah, that's great. But what happened was, like, just like how you were saying, the civilization was not ready for that information, and we wind up destroying ourselves in that timeline. So timeline has changed. Now it's a different timeline, and it's to keep us from ascending too fast and too soon until we're ready.
Right.
Plus our systems need to collapse as well. And if it's too much at once, it'll be chaotic.
Yeah. But this is a perfect example of us finally being at a place where we might be spiritually mature enough. There's an awakening happening this time around that didn't happen in the past. And that's why we win this time.
Exactly. Nailed it.
Yeah. But that's really, and I had not thought of this whole time. I've been pissed off because they've been hiding all this technology from us for decades. But now it's like, well, if they didn't,
it doesn't like excuse,
right.
It's not right that they did that. But at the same time, it's almost like it wasn't meant to happen yet. It wasn't the right time.
Right. Yeah.
Because of all that.
And I've been told that, and if you mention Atlantis, I don't know how much on Guardians of Magic is my other YouTube channel. So Guardians of Magic is where all that ancient information is: Atlantis, Lemuria, ancient Egypt. So one of the things I always thought was pretty cool, and even my client said something as well. And you mentioned, there was, in a way, in those times, disclosure. There was, ETs living among us, visiting us and so on. But one of the things that happened, even in ancient Egypt times, was that they it's kind of like they were blamed for everything as well. Like, how come you're not making me live longer, or how come you're not helping me out? You're this advanced being, and then the human civilization at that time got corrupt, and then they turned on those ETs that visit us in the past. And then that's when they're like, hey, we got to cut this out, and we have to come back when these civilizations are ready for us, because the greed and the corruption was getting too bad.
Interesting. Yeah. Dude, this is fascinating conversation.
Yeah. So I knew you spit out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question. Come on, keep them coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So was there anything else? You mentioned the ETs and negative ETs, the Draco and so on. Was there any other type of connections with them? I know you brought it up again, but was there any, like, why? Because why are they here and why they're doing what they're doing? If you had information with that.
Well, that's the ultimate question. I mean, why? You know, some people claim that the reptilians think that this is their planet. At least that's what they're being told. This is their planet. So they don't even think we belong here, you know.
Yeah.
And but the irony of it now is that they need us to survive, because they can't allegedly there's some sort of sphere up that doesn't allow them to leave. So they need us to survive. So instead of escaping and doing this somewhere else, they're just gonna, you know, basically feed off of us until they finally just die out.
Yeah. And to go off of that, when you mentioned feed, is it like physical feed or is it energetic?
Both.
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 Okay.
Yeah.
I've been told it was both.
Well, I mean, like, you got guys like Johann Fritz say that he witnessed in the programs, you know, take it for what it is, but he said they would actually eat humans, like these reptilians would eat live humans and then throw them in what they would call a regen tank, and then regrow them, and then eat them. Like that was their meal. Like that's how they survived up on a ship, you know. But here they also, it's not just physically, yeah, it's happening underground. Who knows what's going on with the children and the trafficking and what's really going on? I don't even think we might even be able to comprehend it, honestly. I think it's pretty disgusting. But
I've heard
that movie that I was telling you about kind of depicts some of that. It's gross. But,
surprised they let that movie air.
right. No, but because people won't believe it. It's like so in your face that people will think it's just like, oh, this is some crazy dude thought this up. I'm like, no, what if this was really your world and you have no idea? But where was I going with that now? What was the question? What were we talking about?
You was talking about the reptilians, and I mentioned it was it physical or energetic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Talked about the
Yeah.
physical part.
I think it's both, and Aaron can go. I know he can get into the loosh and the loosh farming, and I mean, they this is what they do though. Like every major.
That's episode 5.
What?
They talked about that.
Oh yeah.
I haven't posted episode 5. That's why I was mentioning, like, it's interesting how you watch these videos in order, and then how, like, you see the connections between the two.
Right. So loosh, but the loosh, I mean, even like our sporty, like the Roman circus, they call, like all the professional sports and the stadiums and the arenas and all the stuff, they're all designed in a way that basically like siphon energy into the ley lines. So whenever these fans are getting extremely angry and violent in some cases, that's loosh farming right there. I mean, they're
that's interesting.
all day long. They constantly want us in fear. They want us irritated. They want us in a chaotic energy frequency, so we can't meditate, we can't relax. And anytime we're doing any of that stuff, they're feeding off of us.
I've heard different whistleblowers say, yeah, they'll literally like park their ships cloaked, you know, above like a stadium or above whatever event, and then they're just soaking up the energy.
Right.
And then wars throughout history, they would park
absolutely. I can see that.
The battles, same thing.
What about football games?
Definitely football games. Actually, football and basketball, I think NBA might be one of the worst. If football and NFL and NBA, as far as like having elite owners of these teams who might actually belong to this bloodline, and I don't know exactly what's going on there, but there's so much Illuminati satanic symbolism in the NBA. It's unreal. It's unreal. And then even some of the players and what they're involved in, you don't even know who's who anymore. And even some of these big name football teams, you know, they claim that a lot of the games are rigged and blah, blah, blah.
The Kobe Bryant death seemed like another ritual.
That was a ritual. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like he was about to disclose something, like he was about to say something. From what it,
He
from what it
could have
seemed
been.
like.
There, that's the thing. We're just left in the dark, about a lot of stuff, and we're left up to
That doesn't mean
speculate.
it wasn't still they
Yeah,
could have
yeah,
made it a ritual and also taken him out to stop him from talking.
dude. It
Um,
was planned ritual. Helicopters don't crash like that.
yeah,
I
that
mean,
one cartoon that shows him crashing in a helicopter.
yeah.
Oh yeah, what a cool
Prior to it
prior
happening.
to it.
You
Yeah.
mentioned a cartoon, and I was holding back on this question, but why do you think they have to put it out there? What is your thoughts on that? Why do
To
they
get
have
our
to?
consent. They have to tell you what they're doing. Aaron, you can get into this.
Yeah, it's so there's a universal law, I believe, is the main reason that they can't just do things to us. They have to get us to. It's kind of like a loophole in universal law, essentially. So they're constantly having to put it out there, and then they do it. So they're like, all right, we told you guys, you didn't object, and you let it happen. You keep letting these things happen
Gotcha. So no one got
calling
upset.
us out on it and saying no, saying we don't consent anymore. So so they just keep doing it, and it's like, whether that's an actually like something that's allowing it to keep happening, or I think it's more of just in their minds they think it justifies it. So if any other race comes in and tries to stop them or take them out, they can object and say no, we're telling them everything and they're consenting, so you have no right.
Well, it's free will. It's free will too, and then
Yeah.
also they're attempting to normalize their ways.
And also
just like they're trying to normalize pedophilia right now, literally saying that it's a sexual orientation. Now they're saying that pedophilia is a sexual orientation, that liking children is okay because they know all their crimes are getting ready to be exposed. So instead of
I heard they want to change the laws as well.
Yeah,
like
change the laws so they can't get in trouble. Right.
Yeah, and also another big part of it is, especially with that kind of stuff, is programming us to it. So especially the kids, especially children and the kids, because they're at that stage where their minds are easily being programmed, and they're constantly putting out pedophilia, sex, satanic stuff left and right.
They want a hypersexual.
Yeah. So they're programming us to. It's almost like it's like mass MK Ultra essentially is a big part of it too. They're just doing MK Ultra on a mass scale through the media, through movies and TV shows and everything else.
Right. And even us, like all three of us here are like succumb to the programming on some level. But nobody's actually free from it right now. We're all here and existing in these times,
but when you're awake to it like we are, you can actually make a conscious effort
to navigate,
consent to it and to navigate away from it, and to
right. But on some level, we're all like susceptible to it, and we all have to comply just because of the system, and we're left with no choice. So on some level, we all comply and we all feed into it. We know about all these companies and what's actually behind them and who's at the head of these companies and the horrible things that they do. But what do they do? They put them right there in front of you to where it's the most convenient thing. It's the easiest way, the cheapest way. And we're all buying from Amazon. We're all watching Netflix. We're all doing all this stuff,
TV. I mean, and this was, I think, done before the internet was even really a big thing. Like watching TV for like hours on end literally puts your brain in a state of like hypnosis essentially. So I guess it's maybe theta even, where you're being really suggestible and you're easily programmed subconsciously. So I'm sure YouTube and the internet, it's the same thing,
right? So whenever that commercial comes on trying to sell you a cheeseburger or a chocolate shake, you're gonna go get it.
Yeah,
so I know it works on my wife all the time.
It's worked on me before. I've straight up ordered pizzas in the past just from a commercial. I'm like, that looks good. Hey, I'll take a pizza.
Yeah, so imagine what they're doing with that. Constantly.
Right.
Perfect. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's focus on the new Earth. What would be your definition of the new Earth? How would you describe it from what you learned?
Man, this is This is another one. I'm just gonna let Aaron take it away. He did so good on the older.
Aaron, knock it out the park.
Oh, jeez.
This seems more like your question anyway. So,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, again, this is a topic. This is a big topic, and it's one that you hear various, multiple different things from different people of what's going to happen, what it's going to be like, blah blah blah. Again, with all that, I don't know for sure what exactly is going to happen, but I do know we are moving into a new Earth, a golden age, whatever label you want to put on it. It's going to be, we're moving into a time of awakening, of the light ruling rather than the dark that's been for a long time, and for humanity thriving, and love being the overarching essence of our society and of our world. And it's going to be immensely beautiful. But yeah, so there's the whole Dolores canon, she talked about the split, right? The 3D and the 5D Earth split, like basically two completely different physical realities, where like the people that are on the lower, I guess it's like a timeline. I thought of it as a timeline essentially, where there's like the lower timeline and the higher timeline, and the higher timeline moves into the 5D Earth, new Earth, and the lower stays on the 3D. That ends up very negative, and basically goes down the Cabal's timeline, where things get really destructive and terrible.
Transhumanism.
And a lot of people die, and blah blah blah. And but then there's the belief that no, it's not. There's not going to be a split. It's we're all either a bunch of people are going to die, and from the chaos that's happening now, and
those of us that are left.
Those of us that are left will build the new Earth, and the dark rulers will go away, and we will create the new Earth. And then there's a belief, some people think literally, there'll be like motherships that will take people off that aren't ready for the ascension, that aren't ready for 5D, to another planet to live out 3D. Any of those are just as likely. I don't know exactly, some sound crazier than others, but hey, with what we know was reality. Well, nothing's crazy, too crazy sounding to me. Or not.
Maybe the mothership thing is real in the sense that, okay, so this is confusing. Everybody wants to know, like, we're like, okay, well, what happens to my pet? What happens to my family? What happens to this? Like, what happens? Is there a physical Earth? Like, where does everyone else go? What happens to blah, blah, blah? It's really confusing. Nobody actually knows. But so let's just pretend like everybody is consciously deciding right now, one way or the other. And it's like a test. We're being tested. I think this came from Suzanne Spooner or even Allison. I don't remember, but came through a session like, okay, if you voted for Trump or Biden, that was the first test. Like,
correct. Yes, you correct.
Voted for Trump. Basically, that was like, okay, we know your level of awareness. Somewhat aware. Like, okay, you're not going to vote for,
or even if you just didn't vote.
Exactly. But if you voted for Biden, you basically failed the test, because clearly you weren't. You're not at a level of awareness to see what's going on yet. If you voted for Biden, I'm sorry. Like, that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And the next is the jab. You're given
I was about to say
literal choice to put a DNA altering poison into your body that is going to cut off your God connection. And if you understand that that's what it's doing to you and you steer away from it, that's your choice. If you don't know any of that and you just do it because you're compliant, well, why not? It's easy. You just might as well do it. That's your choice. That's like, okay, you failed test 2. So now what happens to those people? If any of the information is accurate, they'll have a shorter lifespan than the people who don't get it, right?
A lot of them are already dying.
Right. And then let's just pretend that there's like, they are like the whole mothership concept of them being taken to another 3D planet. Let's just pretend like that's happening on some level to where they're reincarnating. All of those souls are reincarnating onto another 3D planet, just like Earth. And that old Earth is actually already existing right now, and this planet right here is actually the one, not just the people, but the planet itself is going through an ascension, and it's not going back. So this will
Yeah.
no longer be a 3D planet, no matter how you look at it. So these people, they can't even exist on this planet in the old world. So they have to literally go to this other planet, however that looks, whether it's
Yeah.
an ET ship that takes them, whether they failed the test and then they reincarnate somewhere else.
Reincarnate, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
However
not saying that everybody
works.
who got the jab failed the test, because I know people are forced into it. I know like it's not easy. People have to, it's their livelihood, whatever.
Their job or
It come
that.
down to viewpoint, like your
Right.
viewpoint on it.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Oh my God, I need it so bad.
Like I can't, it's not fair for me to say, because what if like something happens tomorrow where all three of us have to get it? Does that mean we failed the test? No. But is an awareness there, I guess, is what I'm saying.
There's a correlation between the
Right.
the level people are at and that, yeah, for sure.
Right. Or like, are you consciously, like
Mhm.
if you don't know, then you don't know, and you're just not going to make it,
But
Right.
the details of all that aside, I do think the new Earth will be something that we create that will, like, over a period of time, will, and with the technologies, the amazing technologies that'll be brought out, or us, a lot of us just creating it, that, look at how many times people have tried to create free energy and bring out free energy in different
I know, huh?
technologies that get squashed by the cabal every time, or they get killed, so that won't be happening anymore.
Battery
and-
cars in the 80s got bought out.
Right.
We'll use these to clean up the planet, to feed everyone. No, there's not going to be people dying from hunger and homeless people and all the rest of it. Third world countries, we'll have, I mean, we already do have the means to take care of all that. It's just, again, the cabal they're stopping that, and they're intentionally keeping that in place. So there won't be a planet that has all this suffering and people that their needs aren't being met.
Right.
And
Well,
we'll be able to create this beautiful place that we actually want to create, live lives we actually want to be living, do what we want to be doing, live in loving communities,
it's going to be a place where we're no longer in survival mode, and instead of everybody right now, people are like, it's like survival of fittest. That's what they want. They want you.
Yeah.
They want you to think that everybody's out on their own, competing against each other. And just to give a perfect example, my truck battery died at like a month ago, and a Home Depot parking lot or something. And the people next to me were sitting in their car and on their phones. And I was trying to ask them for a jump, trying to ask them for help. Actually, my cousin was with me, and he was the one asking. And the people literally looked back and ignored us. Didn't talk to us. Didn't acknowledge us at all. Completely ignored us for no reason at all. They just didn't want to help us. So that's what I'm talking about. We're not going to be experiencing that anymore, where everybody's just out for themselves. We're going to be in a planet where everybody is there assisting each other, and it's going to be weird living in a planet where we're not like stopped at every corner because of some regulation or restriction or mandate or something,
Yeah. It's that's all we've known to this point is that, the control and the manipulations, and the poisoning and everything else. So it's going to be, finally, no longer is it going to be this very unconscious place that's ruled by this evil cult, which is what it's been to this point. It's going to be like actually humanity creating what we want to create, coming together as one. For the most part, I mean, I'm sure, at first there'll still be, because no one's perfect. Obviously, it's not going to mean we're all perfect suddenly, and there's no bad at all anymore. I think there will be some degree of that, but much, much, much less.
It's going to be a major transition phase.
It's going to be a major.
I'm just looking forward to living in a frequency to where my body doesn't hurt.
There you go.
No back pain.
Oh yeah, I'm with you.
And everything else, man. Like that's all.
I did something to it yesterday, that's for sure.
Right.
So yeah, even Sarah, she said something very similar. Like, we're the ones that creating it, and we're the ones that are producing it, and as a collective, the new frequency, the new vibration, And I was like, okay, that makes sense. So you kind of mentioned the jab as well. I don't know. Sarah did write a book, and it reminded me of something that you was talking about. And what I thought was interesting is that, do you believe that we're trying to hurry up and work off any kind of karma that we ever created? Because one of the things that karma that we created was during the times of Atlantis. We had a very similar situation where they were mutating viruses, mutating animals and genes and so on. So very similar to what's going on then and what's going on now. And one of the things was that we're trying to do it better this go around. So it's like our second opportunity to do it right. Do you think overall, like, we're trying to hurry up and work off karma? That's why you see a lot of craziness go on, whether it's political or so on.
Well, I don't know if we're trying to hurry up and work it off, but I think we're paying it off. I think it slaps you in the face right now. Like every little white lie comes back to haunt you. Everything you do is gonna come back to haunt you. I mean, perfect example. I got caught up in some social media drama like last week or something, and it's something I let myself stoop down to that level. And next thing you know, I'm caught up in this drama and I'm getting attacked by other people. I'm like, this is exactly what I deserve. This is what do I expect for getting involved in this petty shit? It's a perfect example of karma. Like, this is what's going to happen. Where Angel, all right, Aaron, how'd you say it? Where your energy goes.
How's that? Energy flows where your attention goes.
There you go. Energy. Yeah, exactly. So it's a perfect example of karma working in real time right now. And I think we're in a beautiful situation now to where we're given an opportunity to heal that ancestral trauma and all the karma from past lives and stuff, because we have all of these people stepping forward that are learning these abilities that can help us. And I think that all the karma that needs to be paid off right now is being paid off by the right people. Not everybody's going to be aware. Not everyone's going to know how to do it, or they're subconsciously doing it just by existing. The end.
Yeah. Agreed.
Love it. So yeah, because it makes you wonder, like, if we are trying to work off all this karma, from like everything that we've done in our past, and you kind of see some similarities that's happening now to what's happened in our past, whether it was a certain war, a certain event that happened back then, is kind of like, hey, let's hurry up and solve this, make this better so we can make things better in the future.
Right. Yeah, I think it might be all of the above. There's probably, there's a whole hodgepodge of things happening right now, and it's going to look different for every single individual, and we're all here for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to fight off attacks from reptilians. Aaron's here to sit in his light body, and
So who wants the light body, you or
Aaron?
Oh, okay.
He does, yeah.
What dimension you trying to get to, buddy? What dimension?
Party in 5D.
Right. Yeah.
Party there.
He's partying in 5D. I love it.
Partying in
5D. This would be a great question for y'all to answer, because you're in both communities, and for easy description or definition, the rabbit hole community, and also you tap into like the light worker community as well. And one of the questions I bring up to certain practitioners is that you hear certain terms in both communities. So whether it's someone under hypnosis or someone that is reading, certain things that is posted, by the number 17 or something. Mm. So you hear God wins, dark to light, go through the darkness to get to the light. What's good for one is good for all. And it kind of reminds me, maybe it's related, where we go one, we go all. You have any thoughts of like why there's so much similarities between the two? Is it because they're bringing it up for a certain reason, because there's truth to it? Or is it because a certain individual is hearing these things and then they're just relaying the information?
That's a tough question. I don't actually know. I don't know. I can speculate, but
sure. Thoughts?
Well, when you say when you say they're bringing up, who do you mean?
Certain clients under hypnosis,
Okay.
QHHT sessions or BQH sessions.
Okay, so you're asking if it's like subconsciously, like them, like they already know about this awakening, this transition, so that information is coming through.
Yeah, that, and sometimes you hear like, oh, I don't know nothing about this. What does this mean? You know, like it just comes out of them. But it's very interesting how there's some similarities between the two terminologies that is being used.
Okay, to answer that, I think both are possible. I think probably on some level, like, so even though you're under hypnosis, you still have a lens. You still have a lens, and you still have, I don't know, there's subconsciously, we have all this information that we can't always tap into when we're conscious, right? But under hypnosis, it's there. We've heard it before. So now it's coming out through the session. I think that could happen. And I think sometimes like people might not have any idea. They might not be aware of any of the information that's coming through. It might be brand new information to them and everybody. It just depends on the person and the session. I really don't know, but I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes the higher self will bring up certain terms, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I heard these terms once before discussed on certain YouTube channels, and I'm like, that's interesting that there's a certain connection between the two. So it makes you wonder.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, it's good because a lot of times a big complaint actually that I've heard people who aren't happy with with their session is they think that they like they don't know if they made it up or not.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So it's really, you just got to take all that information with a grain of salt, you know, and there's always the possibility of both. So I don't know.
Interesting. All right. Well, I'm glad I asked it. So with the new Earth, is this any way to deal with the Great Reset? Is that like similar? Is in other words, like when I asked this question to Suzanne, I asked her like, is the Great Reset more for the new Earth, or is the Great Reset more towards the NWO?
Well, I'll let Aaron answer that, but I definitely think the Great Reset, the one that's being the propaganda that we're seeing, the one that's being advertised, that is the NWO.
Yeah, that's
agenda.
Their reset.
That's their version of it, exactly. But I mean, yeah, you can call the awakening a reset. Technically, it is a reset, but it's not the same thing that they're talking about. Aaron, you could take it from there.
Yeah, you nailed it. There's two different versions of the Great Reset. There's the Cabal's version, which essentially that's just another name for the timeline and the agendas that the Cabal want to implement and the future they want, which in my opinion is not going to happen. They're done. They're just done, you know, end of story. And but that is what they're pushing right now because that's what they want. That's what they're desperately trying to manifest. So right now, yeah, they're very much obviously pushing it. The whole Build Back Better slogan is like their slogan for it. You see them saying that every 2 seconds. And they're really desperately trying to manifest their Great Reset, which is that very negative, dark future that they want, where they're still in control more than ever, actually. Total enslavement, you know, all the rest of it. It's not going to happen, but it seems
like it'll give them more control.
Yeah. And I would say there's another Great Reset, which is the positive timeline, which the one we're actually on, which is essentially just another term for moving into New Earth.
Would that be the
transition from now to the transition from where we're at to the New Earth? You could call that the Great Reset, but that's the positive Great Reset, where
that makes sense.
The financial system will be reset for sure very soon, but in a positive way, where eventually we won't have money, we won't need money, but we'll need a transition between what we have now to that. We can't just go from what we have now to no money, right? It's not going to work. So it's going to be a reset to that positive financial system that's gold backed, asset backed. Crypto, that will be a positive crypto. XRP, in my opinion, will be used for that. And it will be a reset of the, you know, the whole system, essentially the whole corrupt system that we have now will be completely reset to a positively oriented system that is beneficial to humanity rather than destructive and oppressive to humanity, which is what we have now.
Right.
So yeah,
I think that's a gradual rollout, a gradual change though. Like,
yeah, it's not going to be an overnight boom.
Yeah.
Oh, suddenly
Yeah.
everything. It is going to be gradual to
Right.
a degree, but it's not going to take like hundreds of years or even decades. It's going to take, you know, I don't know how long, but it's not
Right.
going to be like.
well, we did an episode with Loyal to the Foil called "The Great Awakening versus the Great Reset," and we actually broke this all down before. And
Okay.
yeah, it's not the same. to put it simply, it's not the same.
Right.
And then it gets down to a lot of hard questions and details, like the whole concept of a UBI in the new world, like a universal base income, right? People are like, everybody's just going to be lazy. No one's going to want to work. And we're going to be like the UBI under the Great Reset is where the government can just cut you off at any moment if you don't comply.
Straight
Yeah,
communism.
They'll control everything.
Yeah. So then there's another one where we would have to be under some sort of system that's not a government, like a council of grandmothers, like James Gilliland says, or something, right?
Some kind of benevolent council.
Right. So we would have to see a major change in power structure before we get a UBI that we could trust. Because what will happen? What's going to happen? They're already testing the UBI out in certain areas. I know they did in Europe last year. They gave everybody like $1,000 a month for 12 months, or maybe maybe a little more than that. I know that happened. They're testing it out just to see how it does.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is, oh, you don't want to get the jab, you're not getting paid.
No, cut off.
And that's exactly, or whatever, whatever, they can do whatever they want.
The whole credit score or social credit score that China does, where you don't do what we want, boom, now you can't. You don't have access to like anything. No.
Yeah, exactly.
But now then no one wants to talk to you.
So and then people have a problem with, okay, now what happens if we get all these? So here's the thing. So if we just gave everybody the money now, UBI now, it wouldn't work out right now. But what we're gonna need it, because if we really do get like healing technologies, med beds and stuff, we're gonna lose a lot of jobs. And all these healthcare workers and all these people that are working for these big companies, they're going to be without a job. So that's when benevolent UBI, I think, would come in handy, because now these people literally can't do their job because a machine has taken it over. Right. Even though, like, we are the real med beds, in my opinion. Like, eventually we'll just be able to heal ourselves and we won't even need a med bed. But that'll be a transition technology also. I don't know.
We already can, essentially.
Right. Yeah, actually, we already can. That's the biggest secret.
Yeah. It's almost like the biggest disclosure is the disclosure of who we already are and our own abilities. It's just we haven't been taught about it. We haven't been taught.
That's what I was about to say. We weren't given the information. We weren't, or the tools, or
that information will start being taught to people, to the masses, and we'll be able to on a mass scale actually be tapping into our own natural abilities that we already have. We already have them now.
Yeah. But it would be nice to live in a world where, like, you don't have to work because of something like that. And maybe we all contribute so many hours a week or whatever. It's a community. It's all community, right?
Yeah.
And you have time to work on your talents and do what you want to do and your passions and everything like that. At the same time, there might be some currency or something that might still be needed, but you won't have to live in survival mode. You'll have this currency to do. Maybe you'll be able to travel to another planet with it or something. You know?
I think the new currency will only be needed until we get to a point where enough of the technology gets released that it becomes just obsolete and pointless to have a currency, right?
Yeah.
Because we can just have replicators and free energy, and then why do you need money at that point?
Absolutely. And I think even if we can just get rid of the political money corruption, that would be a big win right there,
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So here's an interesting thought I would like to get your opinion on. So we kind of brought up a little bit, but I pushed it off to now, but I would like to pick your brains on it. So the elites that we like to call, do you think that they are reincarnating into the same families over and over again, the same bloodlines as well, over and over again, reincarnating.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's what Laura Van Tyne talks about a lot. This fourth dimension needs to be cleared up. Like she said, like the whole term "clean up" on aisle 4 is like a metaphor for clean up the fourth dimension. Like they've been trying to tell us the whole time, like we got to clean that up because this bloodlines, they're all reincarnating back into the same bloodline, and that's how they control. They have a stronghold in the fourth dimension and here on Earth. So if we can transition those souls, and so even people's like you or I essentially could be hijacked in the fourth dimension and like reincarnate as in one of these elite families or something. So we have to keep it cleaned up so that doesn't happen. And all these souls that are trapped, get them to transition out of there and get it to be like a healthy place again.
Well, and she also said even just souls that like get traumatized in their lifetime or whatever kind of trauma they endure, and then what happens is they're reincarnating without the healing that is necessary, and then they're incarnating as an already damaged soul, and then what happens is more damage in that lifetime, they reincarnate again and again, and then it just keeps getting worse and worse. That's why people seem to like, why did somebody grow up to be a serial killer, or somebody grow up to be a rapist, or like seemingly for no reason? Oh, that's how they would.
Yeah, you know. Or she uses the Jeffrey Epstein example. Like, if his soul isn't cleared isn't transitioned, it's gonna be reincarnated, and then literally a pedophile is gonna be born.
Pedophiles, yeah.
A pedophile is gonna be born. It's gonna be in that person, and that's why
it makes sense with the pedophiles. It's almost like they're energetic, like the energetics of their soul is so depleted that they have to get that energy from, like, as sick as it sounds, like that's what's happening there, I believe, and that's why there's so many of them. That's why it's so widespread, because of that whole system.
Right. It's like an actual, like, what am I trying to say? Not a currency, a food source, you know.
Yeah.
And a currency, unfortunately. The adrenochrome, all that stuff.
But why are so many of the elite pedophiles? That's another big question. It's rampant. It's all rampant through the elite, right? It's almost like they're all pedophiles.
Right.
Well, when we know about the whole energetic feeding, well, that's why, because there's something about with children, it's like more of a pure energy, and it's much better. They prefer that, so they're getting that. They're basically parasiting off children. They're getting that.
Yeah, it's an innocent
to talk about, but that's right. Absolutely why.
There's an innocence there. It hasn't been tampered with, hasn't been programmed. It's pure.
Pureness.
Well, we've all seen like videos and footage of like children, or we've even seen in real life like children who are just like little shits, right? I watched a video of this kid who could barely walk. Like 3 times in a row, he slashed his parents' tires on the car.
What?
Like for some reason, this kid is just like evil. Like, where does that come from? That's like, unless it's one of these souls that was born into this body, right?
Exactly.
It's not just you never know. Like people say, we're all born innocent. Maybe not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Soul, exactly. It's a damaged soul that hasn't been restored. What Laura would talk about, like what we're supposed to, when we die, move up to like 5D essentially, which is like basically like a heaven realm where our soul gets restored. And then if we want to reincarnate, we can, but we don't have to. But what's happening is souls are getting trapped in the lower 40 where all these negative entities are. And it's almost like they forced us to keep reincarnating without that healing. So, we're not
Gotcha.
or we're not getting healed. And that,
you didn't,
of course,
you didn't have time to relax. You didn't have time to take a break, heal.
They're on a soul level. So literally it's like, and of course we're memory wiped when we reincarnate. We're not remembering our past lives when we first, we have to like dive into that to retrieve it, but we're all just thinking, oh, this is the first time I've lived.
Right.
Absolutely untrue.
But there's also the opposite, right? All these like rainbow children, indigo children, star children, whatever you call them, star seeds. They're being born like with memories of their past lives, and they're tapping into shit. and there's a brilliance level in these children that I'm sorry, I don't know anybody that was that smart whenever I was that age. Like we're seeing these kids like with this like insane IQ already, right?
It's like the recent wave of them, like
yeah.
They're very already tapped in and at a very high level.
Well, there's a video of this one kid who was I forget, he was 5 maybe, and he knew how to pilot a plane. He knew everything about it. Like he was like talking to a pilot and he was like telling the pilot like what to do. And, he knew everything about piloting a plane, everything, like details that you could never, details that you could never know.
Didn't he have a past life as a pilot? And
he must have, but it's just
it's been documented that there's been many kids that, and this has been like years ago too, where they had somehow those memories didn't get erased, at least from their previous life, and they would talk about it, and their parents, you would just think, oh, they're being cute, but then they'd say very specific things that they could not possibly know, especially at that age.
Right.
And then they would look it up, and sure enough, that was a real person, and that was a real, like this is documented. And there was actually a guy that did like a scientific study. He did, I think it was 3,000 kids that he documented. They described their past lives, and there's historical records of those actual people that these kids described.
Right. And they go to locations and know how to get around and everything. Yeah.
So,
I heard in the future that's going to be more and more common. Like you're going to hear more and more of that stuff happening in the future.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to wake up and remember where you're going to be born, and you can remember where you hid the money under that tree, and they're going to go get it. Like
what was that bank account number again?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating stuff, because if you think about it, like you mentioned, one kid knew about how to fly an airplane, another one knows how to play the piano, the guitar, the violin, and so on. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty amazing. Let's see. Did y'all have any thoughts on if you had it from any of your interviews, the wave of light, if that was brought up in anything?
You talking about like the event type of wave?
Yeah. Some people will link it to the event and the wave.
Right. I actually experienced that during the time in 2018, whenever we all were expecting something to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I fell asleep on my couch, and it was so real what I experienced. I thought, oh my God, like it's actually, I couldn't believe that it was actually happening. It was a huge wave of light that came through my living room. It was just solid white. And I was like weighed down. I couldn't move. I was just like weighed down to the couch. I couldn't move. But I was just thinking to myself, like, holy shit, it's happening. Like I like, it's part of you like to thinks, okay, maybe what if this never happens? It's never going to happen. And it turns out it never did happen. But maybe it did happen for certain people, certain individuals on another level.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think. It's
right. And it happened. Like it was the most real experience. I woke up, I didn't know what the hell happened. I didn't know. I was like, what the fuck just happened? Like I didn't know what was going on. I was like, how did I get here? Like I was like lost. I remember, but I just remember like sleeping on the couch and waking up and seeing like this wave of white light just come and engulf me, and it felt like I was just being pushed down, weighed down. I couldn't move, and I thought, this is it. This is happening, And
I
then
wonder if that was like the solidifying of the higher timeline, right? Like
something like that.
Something like that.
But but then I woke up from that experience, and I was like, oh shit, it was just a dream. But it wasn't a dream. It was way too real,
I was going to ask you sure it was a dream?
No, but that's like when you first like wake up, that's what you think. You're like, oh shit, that was a dream, but I don't think it was.
But who knows? Maybe it will be a physical, actual way, thing that we all share at some point.
I mean,
I don't know.
They're expecting something. They have all these underground bunkers built, apparently, like in the 40s and 50s.
Solar flash.
Solar flash. Like in the 40s and 50s, they were like seeding humans on other planets in our solar system, like what they would call breakaway civilizations. And allegedly there's other Earth-like planets out there that are like at the same technological advancement as we are, and everything. It's like a mirrored Earth. And they said even some of the cities mimic the cities here. Like we could be dropped off there and not know that we're not on Earth, basically. They've been preparing to preserve the human race in the event of a solar flash. And then now that Tom Hanks movie just came out, Finch or whatever, he's like the last survivor of a solar event. And he's like,
really?
Yeah, and it takes place in St. Louis, actually.
What? I didn't know.
Yeah.
That.
So he's the last survivor of a solar event, and like it's just him and this robot. And they're like, and then I don't know, I didn't watch it. I just read about it, but apparently it takes place in St. Louis.
Oh wow. I had no
But
idea.
like they're seeding the consciousness with this stuff. That's my whole point. Like are they expecting some sort of wave? Like, is it really gonna happen? You know?
Well, yeah, and according to certain, SSP whistleblowers and other whistleblowers, they said, oh yeah, everyone in the, the secret compartmentalized levels that are in the know about the all that stuff, like they all know it's coming, but there's different, even within that though, there's different beliefs of what it's actually going to be, what the solar flash.
I don't think anybody knows.
Like a physical solar flash that burns up the whole Earth and kills everyone, or just an energetic one that causes some of us to ascend, and then some not. But
well, I do know this. The sun's been majorly active lately. I mean, there's been all kinds of CMEs and stuff.
Yeah, that is true, and our consciousness is linked to the sun. The sun is a portal. The sun is a portal. That's what it is. So
right, and sensitive people feel that energy. I mean, it's like got me all wired and weird sometimes. It's just
our planet is linked to it, as well. So it's like, yeah, the planet, like basically, yeah, the sun is getting more active, so that's a sign of like the higher energies, like I talked about earlier, coming in. And there's actually every planet in our solar system is heating up, and David Wilcock goes into all that data, and it's actually NASA's own data that they have, or that they at least used to have available, and he just tied it all together. And it's like, look, you can like see the pictures of a planet throughout the years getting, like, the storms getting bigger, they're getting hotter and more active. Well, that's because of and that's why the climate change is actually happening. It has nothing to do with us messing up it's like, yeah, we're polluting the planet, but that's not climate change. It's an actual, it's part of this energetic
and the hole in the ozone layer was from them doing their whatever operation project it was. They were doing nuclear
they went out on us too, of course,
atomic bomb testing in the upper atmosphere, and they literally blew a hole in the ozone layer, and then they blamed it on us.
That's what they do.
It's all y'all's fault.
They F up the planet, and then they
with the
you
SUVs.
I wish that's a legitimate operation that you can actually research. I forgot the name of it though. It happened right around the time right after Operation High Jump. I forgot the name of it though. But yeah, they were doing nuclear bomb testing in the upper atmosphere.
I believe it. You give us technology, we like to do a lot of experiment with it. So do you find that the sun is getting brighter? Because I was noticing that the sun was brighter, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
That's a good question.
It feels brighter
compared to like 2 years ago, and that's the thing. I was like, man, I noticed I was leaving work. I'm like, man, it is getting brighter and brighter out here.
It feels hotter than it used to, from like what I remember as a kid, right? It's like in a summer day when you're out in the sun, it feels like it's just hotter, and it looks more white now than it used to. It used to be yellow, right?
Yeah, I agree with the white part. I agree with the white. Yeah.
That too. And that's what I was kind of getting at by it being brighter, but
yeah.
Less yellow, but more white.
Oh. I don't actually know. I mean, I haven't noticed it being like extremely bright, like brighter than usual, but whiter. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Wow, we're doing pretty good. So DNA, is there any changes with DNA that's going to need to happen for the new Earth?
Yeah, it needs to be activated.
I think it's already happening.
Right.
It's already happening. And
Well, one of the experiences I had, they explained to me that they were infusing crystal into my spine, basically, like energetically. It wouldn't be measurable, but like some type of crystalline energy
Oh,
into my.
like a crystalline
Yeah,
energy.
because we're going from
Got it.
carbon-based to crystalline, beings. So, which would therefore affect your DNA. So, and the message that came through was they're doing this to basically everybody because our bodies aren't going to be able to naturally handle the transition. So we are getting help in our sleep, basically. And I don't know if that's true for everybody or not, but that's just what came through.
Gotcha. You had a session before, a QHHT session or something similar?
No, that came through. So I had an experience one night. It was totally wild. I've told it before, but I found myself on a ship on a table being worked on. And I had a Reiki session already scheduled, and my healer at the time, like while she was working on me, got this whole vision of me on a ship being worked on. And she was like talking to the beings working on me, and they were telling her what they were doing to me. And she relayed the message to me. So, take it for what it is, but that's where that information comes from.
Okay. That's interesting. No, I heard that once before, even in like sessions in like Dolores Cannon's books, something similar.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not unheard of. That one lady, she was at a hotel, and in the book, she was like levitating, and come to find out what was happening, she was in another realm. Her soul was in another realm, getting worked on energetically. And when the housekeeper walked in, freaked her out, because the lights were flashing and everything. So she was like out, and then she always wondered what that was about. So, it's could be true, could be done.
Yeah. Who knows? I don't doubt that we're all being tampered with for good or bad. On
Yeah,
some level,
and I hear our inactive junk DNA is being activated
right.
Yeah,
as well, slowly, being activated in us as well. So there's that too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's part of it. Like you can't have this transition without our DNA being activated.
Yeah.
That is the transition.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Do y'all think y'all are considered old souls or new souls?
Definitely old soul for me.
Yeah, definitely old.
What? Okay, Aaron, I thought you would be a new soul.
Think I would be a new soul?
Yeah, I thought you was the new soul.
Maybe to Earth, but I definitely know I'm not from this planet, and I think I'm an old soul.
I gotcha. I understand.
Many lives.
Well, in that case, we're all old souls, but I would say, as far as Earth goes,
then probably not.
I definitely think I am. Aaron, we had that one lady. Remember, she did a reading on each of us, and she said that she saw you as a walk-in. Actually.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like right. We don't know if it's true or not.
That's interesting.
But it could make sense to me.
I could see that.
Right.
So at some point as a child, I guess is what she means. Like I
or at the moment of your awakening.
Oh like, yeah. Could
like that's like that to me is that's when a walk-in would happen, is like when you have an awakening, like something.
Or it could be like Matthew Mornian talks about. He calls it a like soul braiding is what he had, and that was the moment of his awakening where he said like a higher aspect of him merged with his incarnated soul or something like that. So maybe it was something along those lines.
It could be like that stuff's all fascinating to me as well, and it's like it's all uncharted territory. I really don't know much about it, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely. I was just wondering.
I've always felt like there's certain eras in history on Earth that I'm just so drawn to. I'm like, I know I've had a past life in this area or at this time, because there's no way, it doesn't make sense for things to resonate as much as they do. And even as late as like the 70s and early 80s, I swear, like I had a life like right up to this one. They say like, so that's a theory too. Like they say it takes like a long time before you reincarnate. Right. But I've heard other people say that it's like immediate.
Yeah, because
I'm
everything
almost
that's going on, they
right.
trying to come back right away.
I'm almost like leaning towards like I had a life all the way up until like 1985 and then reincarnated in 86. Like,
Yeah, good.
and because there's so many things that from that era that just like feel like home to me that it doesn't, I don't understand. But yeah, so I
Not it
would
could
say
be
I'm an
true.
old soul.
Could be true. I wasn't too sure if you ever had a session with anybody that um, a practitioner or whatnot. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah, I mean, as far as having past lives on Earth,
Yeah, if you ever had a
yeah, I've
session.
definitely explored some past lives on Earth
Okay,
before in some sessions. Yeah, I get, you know, there, those are stories within themselves, but
gotcha.
take forever.
That'll be the second one, right?
Yeah.
So we're wrapping up pretty good, man. We're knocking it out the park. So to circle back with the new Earth, is there any recommendations on how to raise your vibration from your point of view?
Yeah, just try to not take things so seriously right now in a time of chaos. Don't let the external events affect you, and just remember how to be a kid and try and try and revive, I should say, that inner child. And honestly, like, yeah, diet, obviously, we all know that. And like everything, diet is everything, what you watch, what you listen to, what you intake, who you hang out with, all the above. But most of all, I would say is relax. Like, don't let these times like get you down. Don't let it get you
Yeah.
down.
Right. Always have a positive mindset.
Right. Well, just don't
Higher
take it
road.
like just don't take it so seriously. Like it might seem horrible, but it's literally it's not the end of the world.
We're
Yeah.
not victims. Is
Right.
the thing.
Exactly.
And that's what, that's one of the biggest control mechanisms they've used, is like keeping us in the victim mode where things are just happening to us and we have no control over anything. And we're creators. We manifest, we do create our own reality. Yeah, there is a collective reality that you can't deny the darkness, and all that, but we do create our own reality within that. And what you focus on is what you're going to create. Like, it's just that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're living in fear, if you're living as a victim, if you have unhealed wounds and traumas, you need to get those healed. And then I would say focus on what you want to create. Live from your true passions, what you truly love, and live from your heart. And don't get caught up in the fear and all the propaganda and the negativity. You're just going to get more of that. If you the more you focus on it, you're just going to keep putting energy into that, and you're going to experience more of it. So do you want that, or do you want to experience what you actually want? And that's kind of the biggest lesson of humanity right now, is like, we need to create the world and the reality we want, rather than for so long we've been creating the reality they want by manipulation, right?
Right.
Well, now we're moving into, now we're taking our power back. We're creating what we want and what serves us. So, that goes down to the individual level. So what do you want to create? And don't get caught up in fear. Have faith that everything's going to work out, and love wins in the end, and God wins in the end,
Right. And beautifully said. And a perfect example of that is like, okay, so it's the goal is to get to a level of awareness to understand the big picture, galactically down to politics, what the hell's going on, even underground, like understand the big picture. And then how they operate. So what I'm seeing right now is all these people in this low vibe fear mode sharing all these horrible videos about the jab and this is happening here and this is happening here, and like, oh my god, I can't believe this, oh my god, like all this like fear and panic, and people are like, what do we do, this has got to stop, this is horrible, blah blah. And like they're just watching these videos over and over and over, and they're sending them to me, they're like, watch this, it's crazy, you won't believe it. I'm like, at some point you just got to be like, okay, I know how they operate, I know what they're doing. Actually, none of this stuff surprises me at all. Like, you have to get to the point to accept that, yeah, this is how they operate. Like, are you surprised at this point? This is what we've been saying forever. So understand this is how they operate. And then ask yourself, what good is watching all these videos doing for you? is that benefiting you? Is it feeding you in any way?
Correct.
Is it having any positive outcome on your life?
You're
Yeah, it's good.
feeding into that is all
Right.
you're doing.
It's good to be aware and understand
Yeah.
what's going on. You don't want to be completely in the dark because then you can blindly comply without even realizing. So you want to know on some level
Yeah.
what's going on, but you don't have to feed into it and just dwell on that all the time. Like, listen, I've seen enough of these videos. I know this is what's happening. I know their agenda, and then none of this surprises me. And I'd be surprised. What would surprise me if you sent me a video that did surprise me at this
Yeah.
point? I'm just like, this is how they operate. So
Yeah,
get to a level, get to a place of awareness to where you just don't need to look at that stuff anymore.
Right.
You understand what's going on, and then you can go work on your own life. And actually things get easier. You realize like your neighbors aren't such bad people. Like it's beautiful outside. Nature is amazing. You can go create your reality right now, and it looks nothing like what you see on TV or social media.
Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll go in my backyard, be like, man, it's so beautiful and peaceful back here. And but you go online, you're like, oof, yeah, a lot of chaos is going on.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think a lot of those videos, a lot of that stuff is really for the masses to see that and to wake up.
Right. It's good. It's good red pilling people. Yeah, let it happen. But like see what you need to see and then move on.
Why do you think the media is saturated with, and this is how it's always been, with constant negativity and constant fear, all of that, because they're trying to get us to create more and more of that, feed our energy into that. Well, stop feeding it. Like that's why it's continuing, is because we keep feeding it. So even if, you're awake to all these things, we are too, but we're not feeding into that, because then you're feeding into the creation of that, and it's just going to create more and more of that. You're going to experience more and more of that and the effects of it more. So what you want to do is you see it, you acknowledge it, you say, okay, I see that. In response to that, I'm going to create this. I'm going to focus on this. And I'm going to create from my heart space what really resonates with me, rather than living as a victim and from what I see, the scary stuff that I see, and oh my God, in response to that, I'm a victim, and now I have to like scramble and do all these things because I'm powerless. That's the only thing I can do, and that's the whole trap. They want us to think we're powerless to do anything about it, but we have to just scramble in fear. Or just submit completely.
Correct. And that was perfect. And I would love to add something, not even add to it, but just say thank you very much for that last bit, because, I got a couple of questions of like, hey, why are you creating this series? What am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this information? Which you just said was perfectly in line. It's kind of like go within that love space and create your reality that, be aware, like Aaron, Tyler was saying, like, be aware of what's going on, but don't get sucked into it, because it's easy to get sucked into it, but go within to create that reality that you want and look at the higher side of things. So that was perfect.
Right. Well, in a perfect example of being aware is like, it's good to know what's going on, because you can have somebody who is supporting like a BLM type of movement, thinking that they're doing the right thing, without the awareness of what's really the agenda behind that. So if you're just ignoring everything, you could find yourself supporting a group or something that actually has a nefarious agenda. Right. So that's why it's important to be aware, because you don't just want to be blindly feeding into the stuff.
Yeah. Right. Perfect. Well, last question on the menu would be, did y'all have fun? Did y'all have a good time?
This was actually one of the most intriguing conversations I've had in a while on the show. It was really awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I told you it'd be fun.
Right. It did fly by too. And when you're getting that deep, you need 2 hours for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, we covered we went into some concepts,
covered everything basically.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's easy to get swept up into it and start talking about these things. And, and then I'm trying to take these questions that I've gotten from like other comments, not even on my channel, just like people asking these certain questions, whether they're asking these questions in their sessions or asking these questions online on comments on other people's YouTube videos. So and some of them are my questions as well. And that's why I want to get like all this information, in the series, your point of view, this person's point of view, and so on. And then as someone's watching this, they can say, I see the similarities. I see what's going on between the two.
Right. No, it's a great thing that you're doing here. It's awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for having us on, man. It was fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to have links in the description of their YouTube channel and the event that they're putting on in May. I'm looking forward to it. So this would be my third event like this. So I'm pretty excited. I already told the wife, I said, we're going to this and don't make any plans.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you, man.
Perfect. And I have one more question for you offline. So when we wrap it up, don't go anywhere, but I just have one question left. And to tell the audience, thank you very much. Go check out their YouTube channel. Like I said, they have amazing guests on there. I was pretty impressed with the guests that they have on there. And check out their event and let me know in the comments that if you're interested in going to this event as well, because it would be nice to see some familiar faces that I know from ECETI. So was there anything else y'all would like to share?
No, man. Thank you. To all the audience for supporting you.
Perfect. All right. Well, everybody, have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.